Is anyone else sick of this?
I mean, I'm struggling. I'm really, really struggling. I am so sick of Gabriel at this point. I don't even want him to sign. I'm that sick of him. I just don't want to see him sign anymore. I just want this to be over. I am trawling every day. I'm lucky enough to obviously not be at work right now, being obviously off for the summer holidays, being a teacher, and it just means that you spend your days scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, trying to find just that little bit more information and texting people and getting people texting you and trying to find out what's going on. Gabriel, hurry up, man. Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk. Back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our Raw Reaction series, the show in which we react to the latest Arsenal news, transfers, matches, the lot. And Ashwin, relax, Tom. I can't, mate. I'm so sick of this. I'm so sick of it. I can't deal with this. I'm so sick of it. I'm updating Twitter every 5 minutes, says William. Tom Fed, literally in bed with migraine, still scrolling through Twitter for new information. Sign the TIG. Yannick Max says, my heart sank when I saw the Koulibaly to Man City link last night. That is the most recent information that we have. This show may be effective for the next 30 minutes, hour, week. We don't know at the moment in terms of when this deal is going to take place. I thought we would have it done by now, but it just isn't. For whatever reason, be it like Napoli, be it Lille, be it the player, for some reason, this deal just isn't happening. It just isn't. Darren Clifford, how are you not insane, Tom? I don't know, mate. I don't know. I just thought I'd come and jump on here and talk to you guys and share my misery of scrolling with you lot. Let's just break down the latest information that we have, okay? The latest information that we're aware of is that Gabriel has had 3 bids accepted from Lille between 18 and 27 million euros. There's different outlets quoting different amounts of money. Some say it's 18 million, some say it's 22 million, some say it's 27 million. Whoever you believe, what the clear thing is that a deal has been struck between these clubs. The clubs in question are ourselves, Napoli and Everton. Now, the most recent information is that Everton are no longer in the running because Gabriel has decided that he won't be going there, effectively. It is between Arsenal and it is between Napoli. Now, the situation with Arsenal has always been that Arsenal's finances have dictated that their financial situation will require sales. However, because of the amount of money it's going to take to bring in Gabriel in comparison to, say, a Thomas Partey, Arsenal are in a position where they can spend money immediately on a player of the caliber and price of Gabriel. Now, the difference is with Napoli is that Napoli are required to sell some players and to move some players on before they can make a move for Gabriel. Now, the player in question is, of course, Kalidou Koulibaly, who is going to be who's going to be reportedly moving to Manchester City. And they've been waiting for this deal to go through and to be sort of struck so that the move for Gabriel can take place and they can sort out a move for the Brazilian themselves. There's also a situation going on where the player is being asked by Napoli, supposedly, to wait a few days for Napoli to get their whatever together. And I have, from what has been going on social media, from what is going on in WhatsApp groups that I'm involved in, is that Gabriel's first choice is Arsenal. He wants to move to Arsenal, supposedly. And yet, for some reason, we just can't quite seem to get this over the line. And then news broke yesterday about the deal being agreed. And then it was later altered. And the ESPN were reporting that supposedly an offer had been submitted rather than a deal being agreed. And as Asmit says, their deal is not agreed according to Charles Watts. And it just seems that no one knows. Now, what I would like you to do is after this show, go and listen to the Gooners podcast because they just had Gabriel Marcotti on talking about sort of the ins and outs of ITK journalists such as Fabrizio Romano and other guys high up in the game like himself, talking through the intricacies of the transfer market and journalists who have to go to all of these different agents and agents of colleagues and agents of players who play for those clubs that the player that they're looking at is at. There's so much in this that you just can't quite pinpoint where it is going to fall. Archie says there, people have said that the medical is going to be tomorrow. Lille president literally said the deal is agreed. We know, I don't know if the deal is about being agreed, but we know that sort of the conversations, Lille are happy, it seems at this point, to accept the offer that has been made by the clubs. It's just down to whether or not Gabriel decides to go to Arsenal or whether he decides to go to Napoli. Now, they're both in the same situation. Napoli had a fairly poor season, quite like Arsenal did, and they're both in the Europa League next year because they both won their domestic cup competitions. Now, that leaves you a choice. If you're Gabriel and you're thinking, right, I want to go to a club where I'm 22 years of age, I want to develop, I want to play week in, week out. And you look at the centre-backs that currently Napoli have, you're looking at Manolas, you're looking at Maximovic, you're looking at Koulibaly at the moment. It looks like he's going to be moving off. You could see him partnering Manolas next season. Napoli are also looking at supposedly bringing in Socrates from ourselves as somewhere else. And then that's more competition. If you look at Arsenal have got Mustafi coming back from injury, Chambers coming back from injury, a Rob Holding who has struggled but has shown signs of potential, but you would argue Gabriel definitely starts above him. Pablo Mari coming back from injury, David Luiz, who arguably starts alongside Gabriel for me, and then you've got William Saliba, who we just don't really know when we'll see Saliba play. No, genuinely, I've watched a fair amount of him now, and I've spoken to people who've watched him all season, and it still doesn't matter how much we know about the player. I wrote an article on him for the Modern Footballer magazine, and it doesn't matter how many stats I look at, how many times I watch him, we still don't know at what point Saliba comes into this team. And so, therefore, when you look at what's going on, he probably will not be starting above, say, Gabriel. So Gabriel, for me, is looking at this situation and thinking, I can start for Arsenal. Arsenal's more attractive in terms of location than Naples. Trust me. Trust me, it's more attractive than Naples. And you're looking at possibly arguably getting more money, depending on how much Napoli are willing to playing in the Premier League. 5-year deal under Arteta that has shown to improve centre-backs like Mustafi. So imagine what he could do with someone like Gabriel. So for me, Arsenal, and I know that it comes across rather biased, but it is the most likely option and the most attractive option. It would completely come down to money for me if Napoli could somehow scupper Arsenal's ideals. Stan the Man says, I appreciate you trying to explain the situation, but your explanation was very contradictory. Stan, it is impossible not to be contradictory in this Gabriel situation. Can you just, if you could, Stan, go onto your Twitter and try not to find conflicting reports about Gabriel. On the show, all we do is we break down the reports and we give them to you guys. I'm no ITK, trust me. And all I've done is regurgitate the information that we've seen on social media and try to make some sort of sense of it. And there are so many different reports. I mean, ESPN changed their article from the point it was published. ESPN's article said that the offer was agreed, and then later it was just the offer had been submitted. So how could my explanation not be contradictory? How can it not be contradictory with the situation that we are being presented as just onlookers to this deal at the moment? Until I somehow get into the stage of a career where you finally start to hear things, then things are just going to be what you hear. It's as clear as mud, says Stan. Yes, it is, mate. It definitely is clear as mud. Stefan says, listen to the French experts. They're the least biased. Italian outlets will publish that he's going to Napoli, while the English think he's coming to Arsenal. I agree with you there. However, I would say that there are some French outlets that have said for a long time that this deal is done and that Gabriel is coming to Arsenal. And it's not yet happened, and Napoli are seemingly still in the mix very heavily, and there's lots of French reporters also that are stating that Napoli are still very heavily in the mix for Gabriel too. So I just think that it's going to be one that rumbles on to the end of the week. There was people saying it was going to be announced today in terms of like it's definitely happening, not regards to Arsenal's announcement, but you'd see more concrete links to it being done for Arsenal. That's not happened. And it just seems that this is going to rumble on for the foreseeable future. Khalid says, Lille FC page on Twitter say that the Gabby to Arsenal deal is clear. I mean, if we just go onto Twitter, let me just hop onto Twitter now and type in Gabriel and see what comes up. There's going to be some really odd stuff. So we've got Gunner Stuff, who has 4,000 followers, says Gabriel has signed a 5-year contract with Arsenal for a fee of £22 million. Now, what you need to think about when you look at some of these accounts is that sometimes accounts can get lucky and get something right, and suddenly their stock increases because they probably heard some information from somewhere, tweeted it out, and they got it right, and then their stock increases. You also get others that tweet in a very, very clever way and make you think that they know it when actually what they've tweeted has been already said by quite a few other people. They never take responsibility. I mean, do you remember good old Mole? Remember good old Mole who said that there's no chance that Pepe would be arriving at the club, and lo and behold, Pepe arrived. So people who think and trust these very connected sources, you can't believe too much at all. And I mean, Fabrizio Romano, as Iron Cub says, is the prime example for me. And I get that Romano is verified and he's probably got links between loads of different clubs. But if you go and listen to the Gooners podcast that was, I don't know if it's finished now, but I was watching just before I came live, and you listen to what Gab Marcotti is saying about what journalists have to do to try and preempt the transfer market, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. And to be ringing up agents of players, agents of those players' colleagues and teammates, trying to get the latest scoop, to then find out that the people that are telling you that information don't want to be quoted because it would, I mean, if you don't want to be quoted, stuff is leaked from clubs all the time. Arsenal have leaked things. We don't know that for sure in terms of, I can't tell you that Arsenal have categorically leaked information to the papers. However, it's fairly obvious to decipher that some information must come from somewhere within these clubs for these journalists to get hold of the stories. And a lot of times clubs will use this information tactically. Agents will leak information to try and get the best deal for themselves and their clients. And so what you do as a journalist, and I'm kind of just repeating what Gab Marcotti said on the Gooners pod, but and do go watch it. But the journalist will ring up these people, will find a bit of information from a source, and that source will tell them categorically that they cannot reference them. They can't quote them. And so what happens is that you see an ITK or a journalist tweet something out, and then you'll see about 50 people reply to those tweets saying source, ? Source. Where's your source? Who's your source? This is BS. And the thing is that journalist or ITK could never publish who their source is. And I've done it in the past. I've tweeted people saying, who's your source? This makes no sense. But the thing is, they could never divulge that because that source is never, ever going to want to be referenced because it would completely undermine the deal and the situation if the wrong thing was said in the information. If it came out that an agent, whoever it is, nameless agent of whichever player, come out and leaked information personally, that could undermine and trash the entire deal. So if you're one of those people that ever goes on Twitter and then replies to people saying, what's your source? This is BS. You're never going to get an answer. And I love the whole just trust me, bro meme and that is pretty much it, is that you can choose to trust these people and you can choose to trust those sources. And I follow loads of these people because sometimes they're right. I mean, you look at the gerbil. Got it right about Raul Sanyehi. But sometimes these accounts are right, and it's good to just sort of stay in the loop, and then you can kind of cross-reference things. And what you want to do is you want to look across newspaper articles, look across what some of the ITKs are saying, what journalists are saying, and you can kind of put together a picture about what deals are real and what deals aren't. Hassem Aouar, for instance, I don't buy that story. From cross-referencing and doing a little bit of digging, I don't buy it at all. I think that he was a player that was playing in the Champions League semi-final, had in the quarterfinal. Sorry, had a fantastic game. Arsenal need a midfielder. We've got a Frenchman at the club that's wanting to leave, and you can manipulate and build a story that involves a swap deal between Arsenal and Lyon for Guendouzi and Aouar plus cash. It's a very easy story to create. And if you're smart enough and you've got the time and you go and you do your digging, you'll cross-reference things and you'll see which deals make sense. That's why the Gabriel thing is clearly something the club wants to do. It's just too loud. There's too many outlets reporting it for it to not be real. And the same thing goes for Thomas Partey. It's very, very obvious that the Thomas Partey thing is real, is something the club want to do. But there's you just have to be clever. You just have to be clever, and that's as far as it goes. That's where I'm going to stop today's show. It's only a short one because I've got a really, really busy evening, but I wanted to jump on and talk to you guys about it. I will highlight some of your comments before I do go. Archie says, Tom, what about people putting emojis like the timer and a plane? Yeah, I love those. They're fantastic. Koigi says the photo Gabriel took was at the Emirates. He signed. He's liked some player's mother's Instagram page. It's done. That's usually what we see, isn't it? Daniel Acosta says, couple weeks till start of the Prem. We are too slow everything. How is Arteta meant to integrate new players into his ideas before the season starts? There's loads of clubs, Daniel, that haven't signed players yet. There's loads of clubs that are still trying to get deals done. Don't panic just yet. This is a really, really strange window. Don't panic. Deals will happen. Arsenal will sign players. Don't worry just yet. Obviously, we've just lost a head of football as well, and you've got to consider the impact that's going to have as well. AFC Williams says, do you trust Sky Bet 1 to 20 on and Gabriel? I think betting places are sometimes really good to look for sort of the likelihood because betting companies are very well connected. Sometimes they can be absolute rubbish because they want to entice you with a good price, but sometimes betting markets are actually quite a clever place to look for some of these things. So I'm not surprised he's that short. That's down to the fact he's mentioned across so many different outlets, and for that reason, that's why that's why it is what it is effectively. The real Genesis, did you hear about the Petagna links? What do you think? Is that Petagna the Italian striker from Spal? 25 years of age, plays as a striker. He's a striker. Look at that knowledge. Look at that knowledge. I didn't hear them. No, Janice, I didn't hear them at all. I don't know anything about Petagna. I just knew that he was a striker. That was it. And I think that's from just random stuff. Raf, my good friend Raf, Messy Music. Check out his stuff. It's fantastic. I have a funny feeling about it, to be honest. If the fee has been agreed and the personal terms agreed, why hasn't he signed? Napoli asked for time. Seems a bit fishy. I agree with you, mate. Stan says, lying in bed looking up at Upamecano poster. Oh, what could have been? Yeah, although he got absolutely trounced against PSG yesterday. It's fair to see. Gabriel Paulista has signed, says John King. Fantastic stuff. Thank you ever so much for tuning in. Please hit that like button and make sure you hit that notification bell as well, because we're going to keep uploading videos for you throughout the window and try to hit our daily content quota every single day. It might be discussion shows. It might be an announcement video of a player. What an amazing time that would be. And you know you love seeing my amusing reactions when we sign players and little dances and stuff. So, you know, check us out and give the articles a read on the website as well. The latest one is myself looking how Arsenal should approach the transfer market. So link to the website in the description. Please go click that. I will see you again very, very soon. And as always, up the Arsenal.